for another live show. Well, we got a treat for you guys tonight because it's a late night video live show. Whoop whoop, whoop whoop. We got a late night video live show. And by God, Jim, we got some stuff for you. Yes, you. Yes, you. We have some announcements for you. First off, let me just say my weekend is better. At least it's better than the week before. By a lot. Oh, thank God. I mean, Saturday I went to Free Comic Book Day. My brother and I spent over $100 at Astro Zombies comic book store, which is the most famous comic book store in all of the city of Albuquerque. We got ourselves some free comic books on Free Comic Book Day. Now, again, if you guys wanted, or you guys were looking for me to show you those books, the answer to that question is no, I'm not showing you those. And also, not only did I buy books there, I also bought myself a nice Black Series Star Wars Boba Fett from Return of the Jedi with included weapons, guns, and jetpacks flames. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy. Also, today, or no, what I meant to say was yesterday, I went to church and I got home and I was working on Star Wars stuff for Star Wars Day. I watched the Star Wars How It Should Have Ended. The Star Wars How It Should Have Ended, and then I did a little bit of Robot Chicken, Star Wars specials. And about a couple episodes in, like 6 episodes in or some shit. Then I took a nap, and then I woke up, and then I went with my best friend over to the Cinemark, and we went to see Thunderbolts. And now this is where the fun begins, because I'm going to tell you my thought and my honest feelings about the Thunderbolts. Okay, so this is kind of why I wanted to bring this chat to y'all together, is to tell you my opinion of the 2025 Thunderbolts. Okay, so it started off kind of slow, right? And then, meanwhile, you realize, oh, one of the first big times you got to see everybody, well, actually, Yelena, Yelena Belova, the sister, she was kind of like going through her shit, doing her normal shit. And then she found herself in this vault with a couple of these other reject superheroes, which again, reject superheroes. Superheroes that aren't really superheroes, they're reject superheroes. Hence the name why it's called the Thunderbolts is because they're reject superheroes. And okay, so Yelena had met up with these reject superheroes, and then they decided what's going on with the movie. And so then these reject superheroes ended up breaking under the vault, and they met this one guy. His name is Bob, and then he was the experiment, and Bob was the experiment that they decided. Oh, Valentina decided to do an experiment called Project Century. Project Century, they did all these different candidates, and they're like, oh, they found this guy named Bobby, or Bob for short, and then it's like, sure, sign him up, have him do shit, and then he becomes Project Century. But I have more to say. But anyway, so we have Project Century, this Bobby or Bob or whatever this guy is. Him and Yelena and all the rest of the crew, they meet up for the first time, and then they break out of the vault, and then the Red Guardian, Alexei Shkostakov, the Red Guardian, he came out, and then he saved them, and then they were being chased by these, should we say, the government. And then the government were after them. They were on a highway. They were getting chased down the highway. And they were trying to chase them down and say, hey, these are criminals. These aren't superheroes. These are criminals. No. But we know they're not criminals, but to them, they thought they were criminals. Or the government thought they were criminals. And then they wanted to turn them in. But the problem was, they didn't get turned in because, in fact, they never got turned in. In fact, they never got turned in anyway. Because then, little surprise, surprise, Bucky Barnes, he comes up riding on his motorcycle, blows out the government off the highway, off the Hummers, and then tries to interrogate Yelena, her father, and a couple of other rejects. And they're like, hey, here's the deal. I'll let you go if you help me do this favor. And so, reluctant as Bucky was, he's like, I'm going to give you all guys a chance, but don't make me regret it, or else you're just going to be going back to prison. So that instead of bringing him into prison, they decided, oh, Bucky just volunteered his time to train these reject superheroes, as we call them, the Thunderbolts, which is a collection of different heroes. We had well, we have Yelena, we had Red Guardian, we have Taskmaster in the beginning, but she was killed. We had Ghost, and we had U.S. Agent. Okay, so yeah, all of them were assembled, and then little did they know, then they had to go against this whole idea where they're like, oh, then they're like they later confront Valentina when they go to the Watchtower, which we know the Watchtower was Avengers Tower back in the first two movies. But anyway, surprise, surprise, Valentina's at the tower, and then she tries showing off her new project, who we know, Bobby, or Bob as we call him, goes off and he's like, oh, I'm the Sentry. And Project Sentry, then he's like, almost kills everybody, and then the Thunderbolts have to go after him and then have to try to figure out what the fuck is going on with him. What the fuck is going on with him? And so then the city gets really, really, really dark, and everybody starts to disappear and die and vanish. And then little did they know that they fell themselves into the void, which again, the void is again when they went into time and they're like, oh, Yelena and the rest of them had to go through a series of different tests, go through the void, and figure out what the fuck is going on with this Bob guy, or this Bobby, or whatever his name was, who, was Sentry. And then ended up, Sentry didn't end up living at the end because, I mean, the guy who was Sentry, his name's Bob or Bobby or whatever, he killed the Sentry with the help of the Thunderbolts. And with the help of the Thunderbolts decided, oh yeah, we'll take him in. We'll have him as one of our own. And then the biggest twist plot happened on the really, really end. The most unexpected ending happened at the really end after they went through the whole trouble of trying to have Bobby defeat himself as Sentry. And I'm like, soon as Bobby had destroyed himself as the Sentry, it's like, okay, we bring the real Bobby back, and then it's like, okay, yay, the Thunderbolts saved New York, yay. So then what did they do? Okay, so then at the really, really end, before the post credits and the credits rolled, you had the most plot twisted ending ever, where like, okay, now at first in the beginning of the movie, Valentina, she was against the whole idea of going with the Thunderbolts, and then at the really end, she switches sides and like, now she wants to praise them, she wants to thank them and say, hey, you helped me, you saved the city, and then instead of being called the Thunderbolts, now they're just being called the New Avengers, or the B Vengers, or the Avengers with Z on the end, or I don't know. But the point is, okay, so then they ended up being heroes at the end, okay? And there was two post-credit scenes. One where we had the Red Guardian, and he was at the grocery store, and he was showing this woman a box of Wheaties cereal, and it had the Thunderbolts on it, or as they call them now, the New Avengers, or the B-Vengers, or whatever they call them. And the second post-credit was about 14 months later. They already had brand new outfits, brand new technology, a brand new headquarters where we already know was Avengers Tower, which they call the Watchtower, not to get confused with the other universe. But again, at the really end of the day, then it's like, oh, yeah, overall, I'd have to say The Thunderbolts was a very good movie. I give it a 4 out of 5 stars. The reason I give it a 4 out of 5 on my score is because, yeah, even though it kind of had a slow start, and yeah, even though it had a little bit of emotion draws, and yeah, maybe it might have had a little few mess ups and tweaks here and there, it wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad movie at all. But here's the really big thing that pissed me off. The big thing that pissed me off is that only $78 million dollars in box office weekend was made of this movie. $78 million dollars was made off Thunderbolt this weekend. The second worst opening weekend since the Marvels. And if that doesn't piss me off more than anybody else, I'm just literally just trying to say and go on off on a limb and say I think that's a sack of shit. I think it's a big crock of shit. I think the Thunderbolts should be doing a lot better. But given that it's only the first week, I want to see what happens. I really want it to be very good because I thought it's really good. So, again, you can argue about it in the comment chat all you want or underneath my video when it's just posted. But the bottom line is, I really, really loved the Thunderbolts movie. I thought it was an excellent movie. It was one of the best new Marvel movies I've ever seen. It was even better than all the other movies I saw in the last year and a half. And to be honest, nothing was good from 2024. And nothing was good from 2023. So, yeah, I give a big shout out to the Thunderbolts because the Thunderbolts was one of the best films I've seen in like the last 2.5, 3 years. Because, I mean, let's be honest, it's something that Marvel has never made before. And it's like, come on, I love the Thunderbolts. The Thunderbolts was great. It was an all around, it was a really great movie. I would watch it again because one, it was dark, one, it was emotional, and two, it was and no, three, it was funny. So again, I'm sorry if I counted that wrong, but yeah, it was dark, it was emotional, and it was funny. And again, will I sit down and watch Thunderbolts again in the theaters a second time? Well, maybe I will. Maybe I'll shell out more money and help support the Thunderbolts in the theater again. I don't know. But now, since it's out in theaters now, I recommend y'all here on the Hutchins Hut, you guys gotta go out to the theater and see it. I'm not going to repeat myself over and over again, so I'm telling you, go check out the Thunderbolts. You're gonna be very surprised by how good the movie is, and then you'll be coming back and thanking me later. Because you know, here on the Hutchins Hut, we are absolutely honest about what we feel about what's going on in the universe. So again, that's my Thunderbolts review. That's my weekend. That's Free Comic Book Day. What I did, what I done, and what I kind of did yesterday. So again, you guys have a nice one. I'll see y'all later. Bye now.